Thanks very much for staying with us. Time now for Eye on Africa with me, Georgia Calvin-Smith. Tonight, Beninese musical powerhouse Angélique Kidjo illuminates the creative reach of an entire continent. The intensity of her global legacy is turned up as she accepts a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, the first dedicated to a Black African. Also, in Nigeria, the town of Ogijo has more lead recycling factories than anywhere else on the continent. They supply the American auto industry at a phenomenally high cost to locals, with up to 70% of those tested for lead poisoning showing worryingly high levels. And we turn to Ivory Coast, where the Basilica of Our Lady of Peace is a breath of fresh air. It is the largest building of its kind in the world, and unique engineering means that beneath its immense dome, temperatures drop to a cool 22 degrees. But first, we start off on a high with a first for the continent, as international recognition of the global importance of African cultural impact continues to grow. Congratulations have been flooding in from across Africa and the world for one of its most famous daughters, Beninese superstar Angélique Kidjo, who's become the first Black African to have a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame dedicated to her work. She's already an internationally celebrated artist, but the symbol still represents the expanding reach of African connections.
Angelique Kidjo is making history in Hollywood. The Beninese French singer has become the first African recording artist to receive a star on the famous Hollywood Walk of Fame. When the star was finally unveiled, the emotion was overwhelming. The honor comes after more than 4 decades of an international career, 5 Grammy Awards and 18 albums. For her, the star represents much more than her own career. It is also recognition of Africa's contribution to music around the world.
Africa is at the core of all music. What did Black Americans carry with them here on the boats? They brought singing, they brought the blues. Benin's President Romuald Wadagni hailed the achievement as a historic moment for the country and the African continent, saying Kidjo's name had been engraved in history. For Kidjo, this first should pave the way for others. It's a historical moment for my country and for the continent and for culture in general.
And Kidjo did what she has done for more than 40 years. She sang. One star on Hollywood Boulevard and a milestone for African music. For an artist who has spent her career bringing culture and musical traditions together.
Amazing. Congratulations, Angélique Kidjo. Time now for a more somber look at some news in brief. In Kenya, authorities are investigating what happened after 7 people were killed on Wednesday in a helicopter crash near Mount Ololokwe in Samburu County. The victims were the pilot and 6 tourists flying with him towards Lusamda Conservancy. Liberia has announced plans to take up to 1,200 deportees from the US and says that the first group of 20 foreigners sent over will be arriving in the West African nation on Thursday. After Ghana and Equatorial Guinea, Liberia is the latest African country to allow the Trump administration to use them as a key transit point in its immigration crackdown. Liberia says that those taken in include Africans as well as nationals from North America, South America, and the Caribbean. Rescue workers are still trying to do what they can to get to survivors after more than 100 people were killed this week in a gold mine collapse in Central African Republic along the border with Cameroon. Tuesday morning's disaster happened in the village of Zamboye in Nana Mambera Prefecture. Now, in Nigeria, the town of Ogijo has more lead recycling factories than anywhere else in Africa. They supply the American auto industry at a phenomenally high cost to people living near the production sites. Rates of lead poisoning are extremely high, with some studies showing that up to 70% of locals tested had dangerously high levels of the element in their blood. Sam Olokoya tells us more.
As part of the cleanup in Ogijo town, a mixture of slag, the hazardous waste from lead-acid battery recycling, and contaminated soil have been evacuated to safeguard public health. The waste is from the lead-acid battery recycling companies operating in the town. Over the years, the companies have been dumping the hazardous waste everywhere in the town. With 7 battery recycling facilities located in this little town, Ogijo is highly contaminated with lead. The soil, the water, and the air are all polluted. Residents say they are falling ill because of lead poisoning.
Pollution is affecting us. We cannot say anything. It's affecting us really and seriously. So it causes some sickness. People are really affected. So that is why we've been doing a lot of protests and some other media work concerning it.
Some of the health problems cited include severe headache and body pains. These are consistent with signs of lead poisoning. One investigation showed that half of the children have suffered high level of lead poisoning that is associated with permanent brain damage. The products from the recycling companies are exported mainly to the United States and China to build car batteries for supply to the global market. For the people of Ogijo, it is a big price to pay to keep the global car market running. The pollution in the town highlights the troubling situation in Nigeria, where companies do not follow strict environmental standards because authorities do not strictly monitor them for compliance.
Sam Olokoya there for us. Now, the death toll from a ferry disaster on Zimbabwe's Lake Kariba has risen to 94, making it the country's deadliest transport disaster. The ferry had a capacity for 90 passengers, but is estimated to have had at least 180 people on board. Sharon Mazingaizu brings us up to speed.
The government-owned ferry capsized on August 11. The government said the ferry had a valid fitness certificate and it was certified through the Ministry of Transport. The government blamed the accident on negligence and on human error by the captain. The government said that it's launching a formal investigation into the capsizing of the ferry into Lake Kariba. But there has been a lot of criticism over the government's lack of accountability, given that this was a government-owned ferry. The questions are, how was the ferry certified to operate by the authorities, and whether the responsibility should go beyond the captain of the ferry to the government officials. 77 people have been rescued, and the death toll has risen to 94. Search and rescue operations are still underway. Some families say their relatives are still missing. The bodies are now being recovered further away from the sinking scene. Some bodies are now drifting towards Zambia. Lake Kariba is on the border between Zimbabwe and Zambia and is one of the world's largest man-made reservoirs.
Well, finally, Ivory Coast Basilica of Our Lady of Peace is a breath of fresh air. It is the largest building of its kind in the world, and unique engineering means that beneath its dome, temperatures can drop to just 22 degrees. Clarice Fortuné has more.
It appears almost in the middle of nowhere. It is the largest church in the world, with a dome rising 158 meters high. This is the Basilica of Our Lady of Peace, Oyamusukuro. Here, temperatures stay between 30 and 35 degrees all year round, with humidity levels above 80%. So on Sundays, worshippers take the opportunity to pray in the cool air.
It's like someone turned on natural air conditioning. You have to believe God is here, at the foundation of it all. It's God coolness. It feels wonderful.
Indeed, as soon as visitors step inside, they are greeted by refreshing air. The temperature can drop to as low as 22 degrees. A welcome feature, because services here are lively. The faithful dance, yet not a drop of sweat is inside, and here's why. The Basilica's chief technician takes us 9 meters underground, beneath the building, where kilometers of machinery and pipes are installed.
Here we are in the air conditioning room. More precisely, this is the chilled water production center. All the piping you see carries chilled water, water that has already been cooled and then distributed throughout the buildings.
A cooling system unlike any other in the world, using 24,000 cubic meters of water. Extremely energy intensive, it is connected directly to the electrical grid.
Now I'm switching it on. The air blowing system has started. This is the fan housing, and now the pump has come online. From this point on, the treatment process begins.
A few minutes later, inside the church, cool air starts flowing through vents located in front of every entrance.
This is where the system you saw earlier comes into play, with air being blown out. Its purpose is to prevent the warm ambient air from entering and the cooled air already inside from escaping.
There are even air vents built directly into the backs of the seats.
To the best of my knowledge, this system was designed exclusively for the Basilica of Yamoussoukro. It is what makes the Basilica of Yamoussoukro the largest air-conditioned space in the world.
And there's certainly a huge volume to cool. 1 million cubic meters, 7,000 seats, plus room for another 11,000 worshippers standing. A monumental thermal challenge. Beneath the walls of the Basilica, this little miracle of coolness is repeated day after day in this sacred place.
Well, that's it for Eye on Africa for now. Thanks very much for joining us, and do so again if you can. Until then, take care.